Hi, and welcome to Hanging with Becky. I'm Becky Deanna, and every week I hang out with one of my amazing friends to talk about the latest movie release. Then comes the really fun part. I create a custom Becky challenge to test just how well they know something they're passionate about. I spent more than 25 years as a movie studio marketing executive and a lifetime as a filmic fanatic. This show is all about celebrating the movies playing in theaters and introducing you to the incredible people I'm lucky enough to call my friends, one conversation at a time. My guest today is Adam Rackoff. Now, if you've been listening to Hanging with Becky, you might recognize Adam from last week's episode about Disclosure Day. Normally, I introduce a different friend every week, but when I started booking guests for the show, I knew Adam was the perfect person for two very different movies. Last week, we talked UFO disclosure and science fiction. This week, we're talking Toy Story 5, parenting, technology, and what happens when your child's favorite toy starts losing ground to a screen. Adam and I are both parents of only children whose daughters are just a year apart in age. His daughter recently turned 13 and mine turned 12 earlier this year. So when Toy Story 5 explores the growing role technology plays in kids' lives, it hit very close to home for both of us. We had an amazing discussion today, which again went over. We were like, we're going to keep it to 30 minutes. And then we just got into it and why we love this movie, how it hit us as parents, as adults, and then remembering just being kids. And also so many other things about aging and loneliness. We really get into all the thematics that this film brought to us. And I think Adam was the perfect person to talk to about this movie. I'm really excited about this. And the challenge is really fun too. Adam got put to the test with filmmaking technology, cameras, all sorts of stuff, and he killed it, crushed it. Maybe I'm giving too much away, but it is awesome. And I'm excited for you to hear our discussion. Also, I think I mentioned, if you guys just got the bonus episode, that I did mention that I wear a theme shirt, either tailored to my guest or the movie for every film. For the YouTube watchers out there, I do want to show you my shirt right here. It's Toy Story. I'll move my camera down so you can see it better. Only because when you're on YouTube, you can never see my t-shirt. And I'm like, well, what's the point of this wearing a cool shirt every week if you guys can't see it? So for an audio listener, just imagine I'm wearing a Toy Story 5 shirt. Not Toy Story 5, Toy Story shirt. YouTube listeners, you can see my unique shirt for every guest. And I probably will pivot the camera to show it to you in the future. Anyway, let's get right to it. Here is Adam Rackoff. Hi, Adam. Welcome back to Hanging with Becky. It's been such a long time.
I know, a whole week. And I just have to say, we discussed Disclosure Day, we discussed UFOs, science fiction, and I just have to say that was one of my most enjoyable podcasting experiences in quite some time. So thank you for having me back so soon.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you for saying that. Sure. We've gotten some great feedback on the show, too. I think a lot of people thought that it was fun hearing us say genuinely why we love the movie and had spent extra time about it. So it's also fun with our friends. And we have a little podcast, a group chat, and a lot of the friends are split on the movie too. And so I'm calling all the friends that love all of our friends in that chat that love the film Team Disclosure Day. So I'm like, oh, it's welcome to the team, because some of them don't like it, but it's a fun thing we have between us.
And the others are non-disclosure.
Yeah, that's what I should call them. That's a good one. So I just wanted to say we are talking about Toy Story 5 today. It's very exciting. And we will get into the movie in a second, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about our history with Disney first, like what we think about the Disney movies, and really the Toy Story franchise, and then we can get into the movie. So actually, why don't I have you start first?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because Disney for me was all about, as a child, about animation. I was, as a kid, an artist and aspiring animator, illustrator. I wanted to work as an animator, and I went to school to study illustration, animation, and then filmmaking. And that was always my passion. So for me, watching films, animated films, as a young person was really me aspiring to do that one day. And so, interestingly enough, when the original Toy Story came out in 1995, and it was the first computer animated film, I was horrified. Not at the movie, I loved the film, but I was terrified that I had been practicing and trying, because I wanted to be a hand-drawn animator, like traditional paper and pencil, ink, and or cells. That was my what I was looking at films like, you know, The Lion King, and just I was in awe of them, and I just couldn't believe how beautifully they were drawn. And so I was terrified that this computer animation was going to somehow take away the work of animators. And of course, that didn't really happen. It was just a lot of fear at the time. But I ever since Toy Story 1 came out, I've just been following the sort of Pixar, in particular, the Pixar films, and seeing just the progression of initially in quality and in not just in the animation itself, but in the storytelling. And they just had for like 10 years, they were cranking out some of the very best films, really, The Incredibles. I mean, just some fantastic movies that just happened to be animated. And it was really a great kind of period for anybody that wanted to get into the animation industry, which I never became an animator, but I have produced a lot of animated films. I haven't done the actual animation myself.
Gosh, I don't think I knew that you had that. It's interesting about the wrestling with the CGI and the advent of that, and wondering about what that was going to do to animation. I forgot that was a big deal back in 95.
Yeah, like 30 plus years ago. It's sort of maybe a little bit like what's happening today with AI. There's just this fear that somehow people were going to be able to push a button. Even back then, I remember there being an article, I think in Time magazine, where they said that there were animators who were worried that there would be people that would sit down at a computer and hit a button that would just animate a movie for you. And that's kind of what's now happening 30 years later with AI. But that was sort of the fear back then.
Yeah.
That computer animation would replace everything, all the traditional animators. But what really ultimately happened was it took people that understood drawing, understood movement, understood how things move realistically, to be able to utilize the computer tools effectively to create, and lighting and cinematography, like all of it. So all the filmmaking rules and techniques are still employed. It just, you didn't have people physically drawing cells anymore, although they were drawing characters by hand, designing. They would do storyboards. Going back into the 90s, and I think they still do to this day. They still use traditional tools in the early kind of pre-visualization process for these types of CG animated films.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know a lot about the animation techniques. That's your expertise, and we will quiz you on a little bit animation later on the Becky Challenge. But really, it's interesting with me and the history of the films, because I didn't really grow up on Disney movies, to be honest. My parents, essentially, I didn't grow up with a babysitter, so they never got a babysitter. So they loved the movies, so they just took me to whatever they were seeing. And so I've said this on previous podcasts, but I remember I saw. They took me to like a slasher film called Visiting Hours, which, if you ever look it up, it's got like the coolest key art. Essentially, it's a hospital, and there's a skull on the side of the hospital, and it's made up by like the lights. The lights in the hospital windows make up a skull. It's a really cool key art. But I remember going to that. I think I was like 5 or 6, and they just took me to it. And I remember there was a sequence where this woman was like running around the hallway, running from this killer. And it was like, you could hear a pin drop in the theater. And I said out loud, and I was like 5, this is just like Scooby-Doo. And the whole audience burst into laughter and thought it was the funniest thing. I think because I broke the tension, but also I guess it was charming to have a 5-year-old in the theater then. I think now people will be like, what the hell? Why is there a 5-year-old in like some horror slasher film. But it's just, that was just example to show you that my parents just took me to whatever they were seeing. And so there were some films I feel like I saw earlier than I should, but I also feel like I turned out okay. And I ended up becoming obsessed with horror films when I was 9 and everything. I know this isn't a horror podcast, but it's interesting that I just want to say that, like, yeah, so that's why I grew up on like science fiction. My dad introduced me to Star Trek when I was 5. So on TV, that was why I would watch the original series with him. But then like they would take me to sci-fi films and drama films, essentially anything they were interested in, comedies. But what they weren't interested in was animation. Like they just weren't interested in seeing animated films. So I just didn't grow up on them. And it wasn't until I was in high school that I could start seeing movies sort of on my own, where I would tell my parents like, hey, are you going to go see that movie? Can my sister and I go see something else? And that was what we did for Beauty and the Beast. So when Beauty and the Beast came out, I think I was in high school, or maybe I was junior high. I can't remember what year it was that it came out. I said, my parents went to another movie. My sister and I saw Beauty and the Beast. So we had asked, like, can we see this animated movie? So we saw that. And then throughout high school, that was when like, so maybe that was earlier, but like Lion King came out in high school for me. And all the Little Mermaid and all those greats. So I got to see Aladdin. Yeah. So that was really my time of all those great animated movies that came out, which were wonderful. And I grew up sort of on those. And then it wasn't until I think college, where I started. And really after that, and a lot of the animated movies that Disney, like I just saw 101 Dalmatians for the first time, I think like a year or two ago. So a lot of these animated movies from just from Disney history,
I just the 50s and 60s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just saw Sleeping Beauty for the first time, I think like 5 years ago too. So a lot of these movies I had to seek out and see on my own.
Right.
But like, obviously I think from the 90s on, I was locked in on all the Disney movies, and I saw them in real time and through whatever. But going back to like the 50s and 60s films, I still haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a lot through my daughter's eyes. So as she, as I have a daughter, and so she's gravitated to certain films and then wanted to see some older movies. So I've kind of discovered them through her eyes, because I'm a kind of a different parent in the fact that I grew up that I love Disney. And so now I want to show her like my favorite Disney movies, but also any animated movie that comes out, I take her to. So it's a little bit different. Yeah. So anyway, these Toy Story films, I think, in 95, the first one that came out, that was the year I graduated high school, to age myself. Yeah. So, but I saw it in real time, loved these Toy Story films. A lot of people have grown up with these Toy Story films because they span 30 years. Yeah. People like, I think there's millennials have grown up with them. Gen X has, and then even Gen Z have grown up with them too. So it's interesting because I think a lot of Gen X and millennial parents now were kids or growing up during when a lot of these movies have come up. So through the generations, they've seen these movies, and now as they have kids, they're bringing their kids to these movies. So there's like definitely a nostalgic element or care and love of these characters for the parents, because they were their characters, and now their kids are embracing these characters.
Yeah, if you were 10 if someone was a 10-year-old seeing the first movie in 95, they're 41 now, so they very likely have their own 10-year-old watching this new one together with them. So yeah, it's kind of amazing that it does, and it's strange for me because I look back and I remember seeing the first one in the theater, and it doesn't feel like 30 years ago. It's like, no, that was just like, that feels like a decade ago, maybe.
It does. I know. It's weird to say it was 95. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. So what's great about that is that there is like, I don't know if there's really any animated franchise really that has this shared collective experience of just like really spanning childhood and coming of age and all of that.
Yeah. I can't think of any that have that have been successful for this long of a period and have been consistently of a really high quality. Typically there are certain franchises. There are some other animated franchises that have been around a while, but there's sort of a quality degradation taking place in those. I won't name names right now, but I think they're
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think I read an article a while back when Toy Story 3 came out or something, and I didn't look back at it this time, but something about the character, I think it's Andy, the kid, who owns the toys in the first film, that like his growing up, I think because of the spacing between Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, that the age of the boy has sort of was, if you were at that age, you sort of grew up with Andy, like that. Right. It was like you were going through, like he was going off to college and maybe you're going off to college right. When you had seen the first one when you were a kid. Now you're like kind of the same age. So, and maybe those people are parents now. So it is fascinating in that respect too, because of the spacing of these films, that the characters, and that these toys have transferred over now. It's not like, right. Andy grew up, but he gave the kids the toys to, is it Bonnie? Is the new Bonnie? And
girl.
And she's adorable. And I think she was 5 when because I think this movie takes place 2 years after the last. Yeah.
And but even though like 7 years have passed in our world.
Yeah, I guess you could do that with animation, because like that's the thing, is there could be a 70-year-old person playing someone who's 50 right. or a lot younger. So that's what's interesting about it. I had a funny story to tell you, because all the Toy Stories, Toy Story 3 is my favorite. Me too. Which I think is a lot of people's favorite. I think it's like not debatable that a lot of people think they believe even that one.
Quentin Tarantino says it's like one of the best films of all time. He's been very vocal about that.
Oh, amazing! Yeah. I agree. I do think it's one of the best films of all time, and there's a lot of T2 references in it, which maybe that's also why I love it, because it always comes back to T2. Adam,
it always comes. There it is on your wall. I see it.
There it is.
There's the. I can't point to it.
Oh yes, the T800. I see it. So funny. Oh, and my head's now it's too far away to reach, but I did post about our Terminate T800 bus. By the way, I don't think I mentioned it in any social media post, but I gave Adam that T800 bus because I had one.
I should have said that. Yeah, that was.
That's okay. Well, I don't think we talked about it on the episode. I think it was like afterwards. But the T800 microphone bus that he just pointed to, I had a microphone stand and I was obsessed with it. And then I think it was one of Adam's birthdays or Christmas or something. Sometimes we give each other, we're compete to give each other the coolest gift. But I remember one year I was like, he has to have a matching one. So I bought you a matching microphone stand. I didn't know it was on your shelf behind you until
it's constantly wearing so I have these are my plugged in over ear headphones, but those are my Apple wireless, Bluetooth headphones. So that's where they rest when I'm not using them. And
and then if you can see mine, it's too far away to reach right now. These earphones are on my T800 bus all the time. Yeah. I like how this Toy Story episode has just gone off into Terminators.
Okay, back to Terminator 2.
Yes, exactly. You know what would be funny if one day someone tracks these episodes that are like, how many times has Becky talked about T2 and her and does every episode contain a T2 reference? Maybe it's like an Easter egg.
It might have to be. Yeah, we have to find a way to work T2 into every episode going forward.
It's like Superman in Seinfeld. It's like there's Superman. Yes, so funny. So what I wanted to mention, which is kind of a funny story, is so oh my gosh, Toy Story 3, there's a character named Lotso. His the strawberry bear. And another thing about me that you will learn at some point, and you're learning it now, I have a soft spot for teddy bears. I absolutely love teddy bears. It's probably like the sweetest gift you could give me as a teddy bear. I just love them so much. And I have a lot of teddy bears. And actually, I brought a prop. So if you're on the YouTube video, this is Joshua. This is my teddy bear I've had since I was 5 years old. He is, I took him to college with me. And I still sleep with him every night. So I don't know if you want to judge me on that, but he's been by my side since I was 5. So I did not discard my toys.
Good.
Jesse got discarded. I kept Joshua my whole life, and he means a lot to me. So if there's ever a trivia question on me one day, what's Becky's teddy bear's name? It's Joshua. But anyway, I'm just a soft spot for teddy bears. But what's funny is, so I brought him Lotso. There's a story behind the Lotso, the bear from Toy Story 3. So he is, I just think that bear is so adorable and cute, but he is a monster in that movie, and he never redeems himself. At one point you think he's going to be, oh my gosh, he got redeemed, and then he's still a jerk at the end. So, but I think the character, the bear itself is adorable. And every time I go to Disneyland, I'm like, oh, he's so cute. And and he smells good. And I always want to own him. But I'm like, how do I justify buying this teddy bear who's like a monster? Because that's not whatever. Because, usually if you want to get a action figure or a toy, you want to get it because it's something that it's a character you really admire. I guess it's also you with like a play set, you want the villain to be with a villain. But anyway, regardless, I wanted him because I thought he was adorable. So I went to Disneyland, at some point this year with my friend Paul. And we were at a store at one of the Toy Stories. There was near the Toy Story ride, they had a big store that was all Toy Story merchandise. And I told him, I was like, oh, I really want this bear. I've always wanted this bear. And he said the sweetest thing. And he said to me, which you'll appreciate, he said, Becky, in the universe of Toy Story, he's like, there's a lot of these bears. It's like a brand. It's Lotso Bear. So that bear in particular, that was his narrative. Like, he was this evil bear because of what happened to him, and he was the tyrant. But the other Lotso bears probably are not that way. And it reminded me of the T-800 101, and the fact that yes, there's a different, the T-800 model 101 looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but each model is different. So it was that way of him saying to me, you can get this bear because maybe your bear is like a sweet bear. It doesn't have to be Lotso, have to be the one for the movie. And that really helped me. So when I went to Disneyland this last week, I put a post about, his name's Paul, and shout out Paul, thank you, that I went back to Disneyland with my daughter this week, and I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. So I bought Lotso Bear, and that is where I'm showing him here. He's such a sweetie pie. And I just hope, and actually I picked the one with the sweetest face, so he didn't look as mean as the other ones. Sure. But what I'd like to believe, and he smells so good, and he's so adorable. Anyway.
That new bear smell.
The new bear smell. So if you want to get me something really awesome, get me a bear. But anyway, what I want to say is hopefully he's not a tyrant when I'm not around, and all my stuffed animals are pissed that I brought him into our lives. And he's actually sweet.
I think he has to be, because you have taken him in. It's the whole nature versus nurture. If these toys are really, out there living their lives, this one is a good one.
This is a good one. Yeah.
Being loved.
And I chose him. You're right. He is being loved. So yes, thank you for saying that. Yeah. So he's not going to have an origin story of just feeling unloved and unwanted. Right. That's really sweet too, Adam. I have the best friends. I have the greatest friends. Thank you. So thanks, Adam, and thanks, Paul, for helping me embrace this Lotso Bear. But let's get into the movie. Okay. Enough sentimentality I don't know. I think we're going to just get right into the sentimentality, because this movie is wonderful. At least I thought it was wonderful. So really, the film itself, I saw it opening night on Thursday. I'm missing a lot of movies on the opening night, and I took my daughter to see it. She loved it. I loved it. I think I just want to say it's really interesting, because I think this is my 6th episode now. I feel like every movie I've covered, I've absolutely loved, which is not common. So you think, right. So it's really funny because I think it was that Amelia Perez movie that came out a year or two ago. I saw an early screening of it before it even came to the theaters. It was before it even came on Netflix, I got access to an early screening, and I hated it. And I went, and all my friends that I went to the screening with loved it and I hated it. And then the next day I remember I was talking to one of my friends about it, who had seen it with me, who loved it, and another friend. And they're like, what'd you think of Amelia Perez? And then I was like, oh, I hated it. And my friend was like, oh, I really loved it. And then my friend that loved it said, Becky doesn't like anything. And I'm like, that's not true. I like movies. Like I guess it had been a series of movies where I didn't like in a row, but I just want to say that there are friends of mine think I don't like anything. So it is interesting that in the series of my podcast, maybe I'm just bound to always cover amazing movies. But so far since I've started, since June 2nd, every film we've covered I absolutely loved, but I'm sure at some point I'm not going to like a movie and I will be.
You're also probably consciously choosing films that you are drawn to for whatever reason. Like I would imagine, knowing your taste, that you probably don't want to cover Minions and Monsters, because I know I don't like that franchise. I don't think you do either. But am I right? I mean, and I'm not prejudging the film, but I just find those characters to be incredibly annoying. And
oh my God,
they put me to sleep in the movie theater.
Oh my gosh, Adam,
overload.
You and I are so simpatico. So can I just say, I didn't really want to call it out, but since you called it out, and I won't get into it, but that is the main movie that comes out in a few weeks. And I did not want to cover it because I don't want to do an episode where I go in already being unhappy.
Right.
Like I want to go a movie. I'm opening myself up to movie. If I like it, I don't like it. But I so don't want to cover the Minions franchise because I'm so with you on this that I decided that week, which I'm recording on Friday. So instead of covering Minions that week, Martin Kessler's coming on the show and we're doing best movies of the year so far.
I love that.
A halfway point. So that is hilarious.
Which will not include Minions in mine.
Which will not include Minions. So exactly. I can't believe you called me out. So I was like, maybe I can get out of not saying this. But yeah, I am not a fan of the Minions franchise. And so, yes, I will not be covering that film. But
it's fair to mention this is an animation topic and that's animated. So
and I'm happy that you agree with me because my husband and my daughter the Minions and they will probably see it without me, although I might get dragged to it, but I really just do not like those films. And I don't like any of them, not a single one of them. So I will say then I think we're in a similar situation because I have a 13-year-old daughter, you have a 12-year-old daughter. In the past decade plus, I have probably seen every kids animated movie that's come out with my daughter and wife, and most of them are fine. Like some are great, some are just fine, like you can kind of get through it. But those, I just honestly, my brain, it's so loud and so annoying and so like flashy that my senses, it's like I shut down. I fall asleep in the middle of the movie because I just even though it's so loud, I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't process what's happening in front of me. So even I think my daughter liked them when she was younger, but I think she's kind of aged out. So she doesn't really want to see this new one, which I'm thankful for as well. God, I wish my daughter would age out of these movies. So I think I might be lucky enough to get out of it. But if not, I don't want to not go if they're going
for her if she
it's very cute that she loves these movies but it's the same way. I just want to die. So so now we just disparaged the whole franchise. So I'm sorry. So those are movies just aren't for me, but I'm sure they're for a lot of people, and if you like them, I think that's great. They're just not for me. But yes, so that's what I want to say. But anyway, to get back into Toy Story 5 and why I love it. For me, I wrote this on Letterboxd actually last night. I finally did a little review of it, but I felt like this film explored so many universal themes that that were also just like I think they really relied on the human characters more than the toys, which I really liked. That was uniquely different. But I thought it covered finding your people, embracing who you are, wrestling with doubts of self-worth, parenting just one kid, which we can talk about because you and I both only have one kid, and we both have daughters. The perils of technology, aging, rejection, loneliness. Like
even cyberbullying to a certain extent,
yes,
not like, maybe not bullying, but like teasing, and kind of feeling excluded, and all these are all real issues that kids are dealing with right now.
Yeah. So it just was wonderful, I thought, because I think as a parent, the film really had an emotional impact on me, but also just in somebody that loves her toys too. Like that, like we saw, like I grew up, obviously Joshua still means a lot to me. He's still my bear, but like I'm really connected, to the toys I grew up with. But also just as I know, I see what my daughter's facing with technology as a parent, I see that. And there's just, I think my thing that drew me, that I love the most about this film, that I really connected with, is the premise is that the Bonnie and she's now 8. Is that right?
8. Yeah.
Yeah. And she is actually very much like my daughter, very imaginative. My daughter is like when she plays, I'm always like, what's the narrative? She's like, oh, this is my narrative for today. And my daughter has the most amazing imagination. She creates all these worlds, and she writes stories, and sometimes she'll tell me stories just off the top of like chapter 1, chapter 2, and creates a whole story. I'll spend an hour listening to all these chapters of stories she creates. But she loves playing. But she also loves her iPad and plays with that as well. And I've seen her hooked into that. Luckily, she hasn't got sucked into like, she has a cell phone, but she doesn't really doesn't use it other than like talking to relatives sometimes, which is great. And she doesn't take it to school. But I've been lucky enough that she really does still play and really loves playing. But I've also see the draw of technology, and that really hit resonance for me. But also just in this film, the little girl Bonnie gets she's starting to know she's not like the other kids, and that the parents think, oh, if we give her this lily pad, which is essentially like an iPad, that maybe that will help her connect with kids somehow, like because she could talk to them and be more like other kids and group chat. And then at first it seems great, like, oh, you can group chat with these other kids and connect with them that way, but also there's an element of cyberbullying that happens in this movie, which is really, I think, really impactful. And so Bonnie wrestles with, does she not like everyone else, and all these, there's so many elements to it. I don't want to get into like super specifics, because if you haven't seen the movie, I want you to enjoy certain surprise elements to it.
Yeah,
but what I really loved about what I wrote or said about finding your people is, I love that this talks about, and also just embracing who you are. And I think this really applies to being a kid or an adult in life. And some people learn it later in life or early in life or whenever, but it's hard sometimes, like with FOMO, or like trying to be like everyone else and not wanting to be different and being like, oh, I better do what everyone else is doing and whatever. But like, it's so wonderful if you can achieve in your life the ability to actually accept who you are, and like, hey, this is what I'm like, this is what I like to do, and then finding people who make you feel good about that right. Your people. Like I like when I go to Comic-Con, I feel it's like my happy place. Like I'm like, oh my God, I'm around my people. Like finally, and really just in life in general, I seek them out when my lives and work, and all my friends that are going to be on this podcast, like that get you and understand who you are. There are times where, like, especially as an adult in like the workplace, sometimes you could get a job and you can't choose who you work with. So maybe sometimes you can be around amazing people, or sometimes you can be around people who are just not at all like you, and you have to work with them every day. And that's hard too. So it's just like realizing how you fit in, but also knowing that like, being able to create a friend group of people that understand you and let you be who you are, and don't make you feel bad about it. And I think all of us have had that. I had that when I was growing up. I was friends with this girl for a few years who just made me feel really awful and made me question who I was. And I was able to get away from her because we had different lunch periods at school. And like, I think it was in 6th grade. No, it was in eighth grade. We got assigned different lunch periods, and I didn't have a lunch period with her. And then that's when I got to hang out with these other friends, and these other friends were so amazing. And like they thought, and she always made me feel bad about myself. And I thought, oh, this is what friends are like, that they actually really like celebrate you and think you're, and don't compete with you.
Right.
And it was like a life-changing thing at eighth grade, realizing, oh my God, this is what real friends are. And so when I ended up, ending this friendship with this girl, it took me until freshman year in high school to do it. But it was sort of like with friends like you, who needs enemies. But it was a thing where I didn't really see it until I got a chance to actually be around friends that accepted me.
Right.
And I'm like, oh wait, what I had was not good.
Yeah.
So
you don't really, sometimes it's like being in a bad relationship of any kind, where until you meet somebody that's really nice to you and really appreciates you, you don't really realize how, what you're in. You don't realize that the situation you're in isn't good. You just think, oh, this is what it's like to be. This
is how life's supposed to be. And then you're like, wait, you could have it where you celebrate each other and you could feel good about yourself and you can depend on this person. So yeah, you're right. It could translate to friendship. It could translate to relationships. But anyway, I really believe that this film touched on those things in so many ways of what that's like. And like I said, I think it hits on it for kids and adults of like finding a person and also accepting for you who you are, because this girl feels on like, and I've had that with my daughter too. I see my daughter sometimes and I'm like, oh no, because she still does play. And a lot of her friends she's 12 and a half. And some of these kids are obsessed with their phones and on TikTok and all that. And my daughter's not really interested in that. And thankfully she isn't, which is great. Yeah. But it's, and she's happy with who she is and she likes that. And it's nice when she does find people like her that do play. So it really kind of hit home for me, like being the parent and wanting your kid to own up to who they are and not try to change themselves, but also trying to push them to find their person. And again, just as an adult, realizing that for me, I'm that way too. Yeah. I feel like I'm sucking all the air up. So no. How do you feel about it?
I feel very much the same. And in fact, it's interesting when I watch a movie like this, I can certainly relate to Bonnie, and because we were all that age once and we all went through, as you said, all types of relationships and friendships and challenges, and even before technology. But as I get older, I start to see myself relating more to the parents and like seeing through their eyes how hard it must be to watch their daughter Bonnie going through what she's going through and trying to help her. And so it's interesting that as a parent, I'm starting to relate to the parental characters. They've talked about how you kind of know when you've really grown up when you start to relate to the parents in movies or shows, and no longer with like the teenagers and the college kids, like that we grew up on, with. So when you shift sort of who you connect with and who you understand, and you don't feel like you connect with the younger characters anymore. So I just found that it was very relatable to my life experience as well as a parent, as well as my own daughters. And we went through all of what happened in this film. It's so
I did too.
And some of the things I really loved about this film were, I liked that it, as we mentioned, it did shift a little bit more to the human characters for the first time. Not that they always had human characters, but there was definitely a lot more screen time.
Emphasis on that,
Emphasis on the human characters, including this new family that Bonnie eventually becomes friends with as well. But also I like that Jessie became kind of the main character among the toys, that Woody and Buzz are still in it and still have an important part, but they're a little bit sort of supporting characters in this film. And I kind of liked that. I felt like that was an interesting approach to make this feel different than the previous 4 films. It gave it sort of just a different angle, if you will, to kind of see it through the eyes of a different toy and her kind of generational experience of I'm assuming her first, Emily, the first owner of hers, was sometime, back in the 80s or 90s. They don't really say this. I think they mentioned it's like the end of the last century or something like that, whenever that might be. But, clearly she's been around quite a long time, being passed down from maybe three different, families or kids. But yeah, I really appreciated that. I thought that in many respects, I felt like this is closer to the quality of like the second and third one, which as we mentioned, I think they're all really, really good. But the first one, if you rewatch it, and my daughter did rewatch all of these a few months ago. I live on the East Coast where we have brutal winters. And so during the winter months, she'll like binge movies, like all four Toy Stories. In fact, she was binging all the Pixar movies at one for like 2 weeks. And I didn't watch all of them with her, but I would like pop in and watch some scenes. And I remember rewatching a part of the first one thinking, wow, as groundbreaking and as important as this film was in its time, it definitely is very simplistic by today's standards, not just in the visual aesthetic, but
I agree.
in the storytelling, all of it. It's very basic, but if you think about it, there was nothing before that. I mean, other than some short films, computer animated CGI films by Pixar, this was like a groundbreaking achievement. And so they couldn't kind of go crazy with, trying to cover too much ground in their very, very first outing. So anyway, it's a great film for sort of what it ushered in, but I do think the second and then into the third one are the stronger or the strongest films.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one kind of takes a little step back, but I think as we've also mentioned, as you see it more than once, it kind of grows on you a little more. But this one, I think it really just knocked it out of the, park right away. Like it connected with me. I did not fall asleep watching this one like I do during the Minions movies. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because I really I the same situation with one is when you do go back and you're like, wow, this doesn't as impactful. It is very simplistic, but it was revolutionary for the time, obviously. But the storytelling wise, I believe you're right, 2 and 3. But I think this, I would put this one above 4. But if I have the same situation with 4, I remember when I saw 4 in the theater, I was like, oh, this is fine. This wasn't as great. But then, when you have a kid, you end up rewatching movies over and over. I've seen 4 quite a few times now, and I really think it's a fantastic movie now. It's definitely becomes more rewarding on more watches. So I think there's a lot more to it. I also think being a parent also helps. And it's just like what we mentioned in the last episode about how movies kind of have a different effect on you based on your life experiences. Like we were saying, like movies don't change, you change. But I do think like 4 and 5 are probably hit more if you're a parent too.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. And so it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine recently, a few days ago, who said that I think he said he fell asleep in he's seen this movie twice. And I think the second time he saw it, he fell asleep. Right. He couldn't really connect with it. And I heard some other people that are younger not connecting with it. In their 20s, maybe 30s, not connecting with it. And it could be that spot of like, you're not a parent yet, and maybe you don't remember what it was like to be a kid anymore. And maybe the fact that they're not really focusing on the toys is harder for them to connect with. But for me, and I think, again, maybe they'll see this movie when they become a parent or later, and then it'll just floor them. Because I thought this film was so wonderful. And I don't want to give away, but there is one sequence with Jessie where she has a discovery that literally had me ugly crying in the theater. I was bawling when this like revelation happened that Jessie had. Also, in general, Jessie has an interesting story arc, which I think is really impactful too, is just like as a kid or an adult or anything of like, Jessie has this thing in this movie where she questions her value of like, oh, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm what I have like an old way of looking at things, or maybe I'm not as good as I used to be, or I'm not worth it anymore. I mess things up a lot. And maybe my friends don't actually think I'm worth knowing. And
Yeah.
maybe my friends would be better off without me. Those are really introspective questions for a film. Pixar always explores all these amazing themes, but that, hits home. There are moments in your life, and maybe some people haven't faced them yet, where you do. I mean, I had it happen to me a few weeks ago. You're like, do my friends like me? Am I worth being liked? And so it's interesting. It's really beautiful that she goes through that. Oh my God, I'm going to cry right now. But the discovery she has is a different thing to that. So but it's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I think what the strength of these films, and again, it's just continuing with this fifth installment, is that it is a children's film, but it really works for both parents and children. I think that's the strength. Whereas, as we said, some of these other kids movies are just so juvenile, or just so full of pop culture references and things that are just kind of, they might land the year they come out, but you watch it 5 years later and you're like, this feels so outdated now and just not good. But these films feel much more timeless, and they don't feel, this might be the only one that is a little less, it could become a little more dated, like 20 years from now, like, oh, that was the time of, devices and iPads. Who knows where we're going to be technology wise 20 years from now, if you look
That's a great point.
On this film. But this, all the toys up until this point have been pretty much traditional toys in the sense that they're just, things that kids have been playing with for decades, right? Action figures and Slinkies and Mr. Potato Heads and dinosaurs, things like that. So this one is delving into a more topical, like current event, if you will, in terms of where we are right now with screen time, social, an early form of like social interaction via these devices. Again, our daughters are a little older, and so this film kind of depicts like a proprietary product with its own messaging and gaming platform, if you will. It's not, this isn't really going into social media per se, because these are younger girls that are interacting. But yeah, this could become potentially a product of its time, if you will, down the road, 30 years from now, when they're making like Toy Story 16, we might say like, oh yeah, that movie was a little, that was made in 2026. You can tell, because
that's so interesting. Yeah. There's a guy I follow on Letterboxd, who I just saw a post he did last night about Toy Story 4, and I want to give him credit because I thought it was wonderful. It's just 2 sentences that he said that are amazing. His name is Brad Garoon, and I think his Letterboxd is actually his name. So going to give him a shout out. But he said, which I thought was wonderful, he said Toy Story 4 made the case for the series remaining a trilogy. Toy Story 5 convinced me that with the right stories, they can make these movies forever.
Yeah. That's a very valid statement, because I think when it comes down to it, it's all about story. If the stories are good, and if they continue to evolve the stories, in this case, I really think they did. They evolved it both in who the kind of primary toy protagonist was, as well as focusing, as we said, more on the human characters. So if they can continue to let the franchise grow, and there's sort of an endless possibility of subjects that they could cover about growing up and all the themes that we've talked about. It's but yeah, this is it's a really solid entry into the franchise. Like, I feel like again, the bar has been set very high by like Toy Story 3. I think most people would agree. But it's definitely, as I said, I think it's a big step up from the fourth one, even though I wouldn't say any of them are bad by any stretch.
No.
All incredible films. It's a great franchise, and all the shorts as well. I don't know if you've seen all
the shorts are great.
They're so funny,
the one with the rainy hotel, and like they're doing, oh my God, I love that one. I don't know what that one's called, but that one's like my favorite one.
There's the bathroom one where they're what's it called? Where they're having
where they have like the dance party
Yes,
and
in the bathtub.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. I like the one where they check into a hotel and it's like it's supposed to be a scary one. That's my favorite one. But yeah, those are great. And then they're with Bonnie, so they're wonderful entries too. Like even the shorts are great. But yeah, first we can pivot to the challenge in a second. I just wanted to cover two more things before we do. I just want to touch on two things. One is they also tackle aging in this movie, which I love. It's really in the trailer too. It's really not a lot, but I love how they also touch on like what Woody comes back and he's sort of like balding and he's like maybe gained a little weight. And then I think that's like physical, but like I think there's other things about like what Jesse's dealing with and all the characters in general about feeling like you're aging, maybe you're not worth, can't do things that you thought you could do anymore, or maybe you're not as value anymore. So there's that's more of an adult sensibility, but I really love that. And I thought was just wonderfully done. And Forky I love the whole Forky shorts too.
Yeah.
Those, if you ever go on Disney Plus, the Forky shorts are
Forky asks a question.
Forky asks a question are the best.
Yeah.
But Forky has like a handful of lines in this movie, not a lot. And because he has so many characters, not all of them have lines, but his lines in this are great. And I think actually most of them are in the trailer, but he's just so funny. They're amazing.
Tony Hale, I think, is his voice. He's so good.
And I just adore his character. We actually have a Forky toy. And I think that was really it, really. And then just like I loved how this movie could help like break down like our walls, like really, no matter who you are, I think so. And the other thing I was going to mention was the one storyline that didn't really work for me or I didn't love was there's a storyline where like there's a ton of Buzz Lightyears. There's like this whole backstory of them and it was fine, but that wasn't my favorite part. And I didn't think that was like as dynamic as the rest of the movie, but that's just one small part. And those toys, all the Buzz Lightyears, there's like this whole scene with like a bunch of army of Buzz Lightyears, sort of starts the movie off that way and a through line through the film. I didn't think it was as dynamic, but they do play a role in the progression of the story. Whenever they went back to them, I was like, oh God, we're back to them. It
kind of felt like they were trying to find a way to make sure Tim Allen had a little more
maybe
voice work, like because the actual Buzz, in Bonnie's room doesn't have a ton of screen time. And so I felt like this is a way to kind of make sure Buzz and his character and Tim Allen had a little more to do in the film, because basically it's like all these like more, what do they call them? Like they're like Wi-Fi connected robotic versions of Buzz Lightyear, like sort of advanced tech versions. And they're like crashed on a deserted island from a container ship or something. And they're basically in factory like demo mode, and they're just trying to like get back to, they're essentially trying to find their purpose. I think that's the underlying story there. And that I kind of found to be towards the end, it does kind of pay off. There's a little like post-credit scene where they all get essentially delivered to a schoolyard full of children. They find their
stay for, there's a post-credit sequence. So
there's also like an end credit. There's a mid credits and a post credits scene as well.
You know what? I don't think I saw the post credits scene. Actually, I hope to see the movie again. One of my friend Andrew loves seeing movies in 3D, so I do hope to see it in 3D. So I do want to see it in 3D just to see it that way.
And one other thing, I just want to give a shout out that I love Conan O'Brien, and he does the voice of Smarty Pants in this film, like a potty training tech device. And I really, really enjoyed that element. And there was a couple new voices in this that did a really great job. There's even a little, what was it, pizza with sunglasses was voiced by Bad Bunny, just like a couple lines. But
and Greta Lee plays the lily pad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Greta Lee's like the main new voice as Lily Pad, and she has a really nice arc too. The iPad character, which is wonderful too. She isn't just like a straight up villain. And then the Shelby Ribera was Snappy, the toy camera, and I think there was Craig Robinson played Atlas, the GPS hippo toy.
Yeah.
And then Ernie Hudson
Alan
came back as
Cumming.
Combat Carl. And yeah, it was like some of the old voices. I think Combat Carl, was he introduced in the shorts?
I think so. And I thought he was originally voiced by Carl Weathers.
Maybe
changed his, I may be wrong.
Maybe
but,
he's Ernie Hudson in this one. So
Yeah.
maybe they revoiced him, but that's interesting. Yeah. I just realized that. I'm like, oh, I love Combat Carl, but I think he might be from the shorts.
Yes, that he had definitely had a short. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then there's a funny little cameo from Toy Story 4. You see Ducky and Bunny, but you never hear them.
Yes.
They didn't pay to get Key and Peele back to do
that is funny. I forgot that they had a little cameo. That's how
Yeah.
funny. I love that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think once again we talked for 50 minutes about this, but we also talked about a bunch of other stuff. We talked about, like, at some point someone's going to be like, you need to retire the 30 minutes with the movie. I'm like, we're not going to talk for more than 30 minutes on this movie.
If we cut out T2, that cuts out 20 minutes right there. So.
Yeah, maybe Becky doesn't go into T2 again. No. Because I feel like once you bring in a T2, I feel like I brought it up like 3 times in this conversation. And look, now you got me on it again. It's in the brain.
It is. It's right there on your wall and right behind. It's like,
I know it's surrounding us. It's
reminding
so let's pivot then to the Becky challenge. We'll get into it right after this. All right, we're back for the Becky challenge. And first, before we start, I want to have a retraction that Adam, I'm a disaster when it comes to scoring. I'm learning how we do this, but Adam actually got 21 out of 25 right, not 23 out of 25 right. But he still last week. Yeah. This week he's going to get them all right. No. But last week on the sci-fi film challenge, which was called First Contact, he got 21 out of 25 right. For some reason, I said 23 out of 25 right because I didn't calculate it right. This time I'm actually going to use a calculator because apparently I'm learning as we go. For some reason, every challenge I'm like dying when I do the calculations, but one of these days I'm going to get it right. But it's just the charm of me, I guess, is that. Anyway, Adam still is a sci-fi legend. It was, I think, 16 and up was a sci-fi legend. He got 21, so he still killed it. But also want to have another, also to say that now that we have the bonus episode we just released out with Kyle, the last episode I said Adam had the highest score anyone's ever got. Kyle Reardon, now that the bonus episode is part of our it's just now part of the
official canon.
Yes, official canon. That was the word I was looking for. Kyle is the reigning champion with 24 out of 25, right? Which is tough. So we'll see. We're going to see if any of my guests ever get 25 out of 25 right. Maybe that'll be you today, Adam. So
I don't know. I'm not feeling it right now. I'm a little off my game, so we'll see. I'll do my best.
So what I want to say, though, is this is the hardest challenge we've had to date. I think so, because this is not, when I talked to my guests and we try to figure out what I should quiz them on, this was on just like aspect ratios, filmmaking terms, all sorts of stuff, because Adam's a filmmaker and loves animation and all that. It was actually very hard for me to figure out all these. So because I don't really know, I didn't go to film school. I went to business school for marketing. And I love movies and I've learned a lot about movies along the way, but definitely not as well versed in technical aspects of filmmaking. Adam is. So it took a lot of research on my end. So I'm hoping all these questions are legit. And Adam, you can call me out if I mess up somehow. I think they are. I did double check a lot of them, but I would fail this. And I don't know. I think this is a great one. This is for those real hardcore filmmakers, cinephiles out there. I feel like you'll kill it. And also a lot of you that don't know a lot of the technical aspects of filmmaking, you'll learn a lot. I'm hoping in this challenge. We'll see. So, right. Ready? I have an intro for you. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Okay, no, I'm just, I'm a little nervous here because I'm not good when put on the spot. So.
Oh, I know.
Sometimes I blank. on things I know, like I did with Blade Runner.
Yeah, but I mean, that's human, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so let me start. Damn it, we're not infallible. Okay, so the Becky challenge in the frame. All right, Adam, last week you proved you knew your science fiction. This week, we're testing a completely different set of skills. As a documentary and animation producer, filmmaker, and all-around movie nerd, you spent years surrounded by cameras, lenses, aspect ratios, editing rooms, animation techniques, and enough filmmaking jargon to confuse most normal people like me. Today, we're going behind the scenes. Welcome to In the Frame. I'll test your knowledge of filmmaking terminology, cameras, animation, and the technical side of movie magic. Get in a fright and you'll earn the title of master filmmaker. Get too many wrong and you'll be reassigned to organize cables and charge batteries on a low budget student film.
I'll volunteer for that right now. I've done that too.
Yeah, that's also a valuable job. Yeah. Are you ready?
I'm ready. As
okay.
I'll ever be.
Okay. Let me get a pencil on I got the scorecard, which I thought was going to help me last time. And it did, except I forgot about the addition part where I messed up. So. Okay.
Okay.
So round one, let me just fix this on my laptop. Okay. Round one. Question one, what does the term aspect ratio describe?
It describes essentially the ratio between the horizontal and the vertical sides of the frame of a motion picture movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
How wide it is,
Yes. Correct.
Like 16 by 9 if you're watching on a normal television set.
Next question.
Right. Ready.
Okay. We'll talk about that exactly.
Okay.
What aspect ratio is commonly associated with modern widescreen films?
So that would be 2.35 to 1, or sometimes 2.39 to 1. It's what they call a scope or cinemascope ratio. Yeah.
Yes. Badass. I have 2.39 to 1, except 2.35 to 1, but also it's really 2.351. But what's fascinating is I checked this question like 5 different times and I got like 5 different answers. And I'm like, oh, this is really panoramic. And is he going to get this? This is going to F him up. And right out of the gate, because I'm like, no, he's never going to say 2.391. He's going to say 2.351. And out of the gate, you're all, well, 2.391.
Yeah, there's a lot of other ratios too. I mean, variations on it, especially in today's cinema, because we have a lot of filmmakers doing variable rates during their films, where the ratios essentially change throughout the film, and it's even being done on television more and more as well. So it's a interesting time. It didn't used to be quite so all over the place, but in recent years, there's more options, more choices available to filmmakers than ever before.
Wait, didn't I get you an aspect ratio blanket?
Aspect ratio blanket. That was we talked about we always try to one up our gifts for each other. And that was a very good one. Yeah. It's like a beach blanket, I think.
Just remembered I did that.
Yeah.
It was like a throw blanket or something, but A24 had aspect ratio blanket one year. And I'm like, I'm going to one up Adam.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get this blanket for him.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Oh my God. We compete with who's going to get each other the coolest gift.
Well, it's all about kind of like when we see something like super nerdy that we just say, oh, that's totally Becky. Or
you got me that James Cameron book. I didn't even know it existed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That was I think I got someone else that book. Yeah. I don't remember who it was. When I found out it existed, I don't remember who it was. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know this book existed. And I think it had just come out. I just read about. I had pre-ordered a copy for myself. I was like, it was called Tech Noir. Which is, of course, the name of the nightclub in the first Terminator.
Yes, that's what the book is named after.
But that blew my mind when you got me that book, because I didn't know it existed, because you said it literally had just come out, so I hadn't seen an article about it or anything, and I'm just like, how does he know this is it? How did I not know this existed? And
it's
I think
funny how things like that can just slip through the cracks. Somehow, you would normally, it should show up in one of your feeds or something. You just because it knows what you like. But sometimes things just fly under your radar, and you just don't. know. And it's good for gift giving for any of your friends if you know them well enough, and you can discover something before they find out, because it's kind of cool to be able to,
because then it could be you could get everyone's oh, Becky's obsessed with this, and then 4 of your friends get you the same thing, and you're and now I have 4 of the same books, but no one else thought of it, and also you killed it, because I didn't even know that book came out, so you blew my mind. One of the best gifts I've ever gotten.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Question 3.
Okay.
What does DOP stand for in filmmaking?
It typically stands for director of photography, or which is another term for a cinematographer on a film. And they're usually just the main person, not necessarily operating the camera, but they're doing the lighting, and they're setting up the shots. They work with a team of people. But in a lot of cases, the filmmaker, the director, will actually operate the camera. Like Stanley Kubrick would actually sit behind the camera himself, even though he had a separate DOP. The setups and everything.
Did you hear about the Kubrick box set, the Criterion? Oh my God. You should have been the first person I texted, because Adam obviously has done a lot of work on Full Metal Jacket. I was going to say, you know about it. Of course you do. I was just going to say, wait a minute. You probably have, there's probably... Yes, because I was like, wait, you probably have extras. There's probably extras on this box set that you were a part of, right?
Yeah, we were consulted on it. I'll say that.
So it's so funny how you're like, Becky, I knew about this before the world knew about it. Okay, of course you did.
And there's even more that hasn't yet been teased.
Because there's so many questions about what it is, and it just was a teaser video, and then
I don't know everything, but I know a little bit.
I said it to my friend Andrew, and he's like, "What does this mean?" and blah blah blah. I'm like, "I don't know. That's all I know. I don't know." But I should have said, "Well, you know what? Let me text my friend Adam. He might know what's up." You guys should meet, by the way, because you're both love aspect ratios and all that. Not just that, but
it's
you guys.
Sky Wingfield, our friend, he and I call it aspect ratio porn. That's what we get excited about.
So funny. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating how much you know about it. Okay. So question, you've gotten 3 out of 3 right. Question 4, what is the primary purpose of a storyboard?
A storyboard, it's really a type of pre-visualization in order to communicate the director's vision to the rest of the crew, especially the director of photography, as well as production designers and everybody that has to help create the scene. So it's kind of a way of pre-editing, if you will, or pre-shooting a film before. And in fact, there's a great, if you can look this up online, it's on YouTube. Steve Jobs gave a great interview in 1995, I believe, where he's talking about how, or in the late 90s, about how with Toy Story, they basically had to storyboard the entire film exactly how it was going to be done, because it was so expensive, especially that back then, to render out all the images, that there's no cut scenes. It's not like filming a movie. So everything has to be so perfectly timed out, and they actually scan everything in and put it to music, put it to voices, and move and pan across the storyboards, so that you're really seeing essentially what they call an animatic. It's like a full version of the movie, just with storyboarded, sort of moving storyboards. And that was the only way they could do it back then, because otherwise the cost, if you make a mistake, or you're just like, oh, we don't like that shot, anyway, I'm going off in a whole tangent. Sorry.
No, I love this. This is like an education for anyone that also doesn't know what this is great. And also it's like Kyle, it's like a nice companion episode with the Kyle episode with Jaws. Every time I ask him a Jaws trivia, he would, you have to listen to the episode I did just dropped, but he would explain it, and then it'd be like, well, the history
Yeah.
of this, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I was like couldn't contain my smile. And if you watch on the YouTube, I was so
Yeah.
proud of Kyle. I'm like, oh my god, Kyle, like every question, first of all, he killed it. Like I said, he got 24 out of 25 right, and he would have gotten 25. He just second guessed himself, but that he knew so much about Jaws, but also just like gave us a history lesson on the filmmaking behind Jaws. It was really amazing. So I love all this. So you got a perfect score on that. On the I didn't even tell you the first round was called Lights Camera. So you did perfect score on that. It's not actually. Okay. I wasn't that creative. I know. I just realized I'm like, I should have said that because I wasn't as good about that. Okay, so round 2. Okay. As you know, these rounds get harder.
I know.
But you're a pro. Round 2 is called Behind the Lens.
Okay.
What? This one is so hard.
Okay.
I think. I mean, maybe
that way, if I don't know it, I won't feel so bad. Yeah.
What camera company manufactures the Alexa line of digital cinema cameras?
I think Sony. Is it Sony?
No.
Okay.
This is hard. I don't even know why I came up with this question.
No, it's a good question. I know I've been around them. Is it Panavision?
No.
I'm not sure.
And tell me, I mean, I could be wrong on these because it's the ARRI is also Arnold and Richter Cinema Technic.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah,
okay, so
hard. Yeah, I mean, I haven't done a ton of actual as a more of a producer. I'm not like a camera person per se. I have a lot of friends who like they know everything. People, they're either lighting guys or they're focus pullers. Like they know everything about lenses and cameras. That's not necessarily my strongest suit. So
I decided to give you a whole
it's good.
section on cameras. So
let's try.
Let's see how you do on this.
What I've absorbed.
Okay, so question 6.
Yeah.
God, now I'm like I should have done a camera round. Okay, a 50 millimeter lens is generally considered what type of lens?
It's a long lens, right? Is that what you're looking for?
I have standard or normal lens.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry,
that's what I consider. Yeah.
Okay. Question 7. What does rack focus mean?
Rack focusing is basically when you have two subjects at different focal lengths, and you're focused on one in the foreground, then suddenly it racks and focuses to the one in the background, typically because the action or dialogue is moving to that person in the frame.
That's amazing.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Question 8, last question in this round, so we get out of this round. What does bokeh refer to, or bokeh? They refer to as bokeh or bokeh. I can spell it if you want.
I don't think I've heard this term. So that's,
it's BOKEH.
BOK. I don't think it's going to matter how it's spelled or how it's pronounced. I don't think I've heard this term.
Okay.
I'd love to learn what it means.
Okay, wow! I picked something you didn't know.
This is good.
This is good. I mean, I didn't think I'd stump you. The aesthetic quality of out of focus areas in an image. That's what I have.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
Okay, so you got 1 out of 4 right. So you got 3 wrong on that one. I'm so sorry. So next one, Animation Nation.
Okay.
This is more your speed.
I hope.
Question 9.
Yeah.
Wait, let me span this out because this is technical stuff I'm dealing with here on these questions. Okay. What animation technique involves creating the illusion of movement by photographing physical objects one frame at a time?
I think you're referring to either stop motion or in some cases puppet animation.
Yeah. Stop motion animation.
Yeah.
Awesome. Number 10.
I just did. I'll add one little thing. I did with our friends James Hancock and Martin Kessler. I did a audio commentary for Hoffmaniada, which is a stop motion animated film that based on E.T. A. Hoffman's stories and life, and it's now available on Blu-ray from Deaf Crocodile if you want to check it out.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so jealous that you guys do audio commentaries. It's the coolest thing in the whole world.
They're very obscure, kind of bizarre films. So we enjoy doing the deep dive and sort of just films that haven't really been seen or have people haven't had access to them in North America. So they're just
Yeah,
kind of coming here for the first time. And so it's fun for us to
that's amazing. Yeah,
to
my
learn
dream
about
is
them. Yeah.
one day is to be an extra on a Blu-ray. I thought we got really close. I don't know if you guys know, but it's good for you to check out. There's only 7 episodes, but I co-hosted Director's Take podcast for Sony Pictures. We interviewed filmmakers that talked about movies that they loved from the Sony catalog rather than worked on. It was great. We had Betty Safdie and Eli Roth and Zach Kreger and Amy Heckerling and Will Gluck. It was amazing. And Nia DaCosta. But the podcast we did with Nia DaCosta for 28 days later, she loved that movie, wanted to celebrate it, even though she didn't direct it. She directed The Bone Temple. There was talk about putting that on the Blu-ray as an extra, but it was that was something I learned, was that apparently, like, there's only so much room on like a disc.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm like, why can't like we have this great extra, and they're like, there's only so much room on the 4K, like it would have to be this big. And you did it with the VHSs. You had to get like the 4 VHSs or the 2. But I didn't even know it was a thing with physical media, like a Blu-ray or a 4K. I didn't know that there was a room situation with that.
Yeah, especially with the 4K releases, they're putting, the files are so much bigger now, and it's with audio, it's a little easier. It's to do like an audio track on a movie. It doesn't take up that much extra file space, but to put like your video, because I know you did the full video interview. Yeah,
our video interview wasn't done in 4K too, so it was like a 40,
and it was over an hour. I believe, right? Like,
I think. Well, at both of them, we did 2 interviews with her. Yeah. Each one was 30 minutes. So if you put both on, it would be an hour. Yeah. But if you do go, which is exciting, I think is we're the second podcast for this ever to happen to in the history of Apple. If you go to rent Bone Temple and you rent it on iTunes, if you scroll down, it has a link to our podcast.
Oh, that's great.
So I guess cool. That could be considered an extra, but it's a digital extra. So if you go rent it, it'll scroll and then you listen and you click on it. There's my face. So it's very exciting. So you know what? I did it.
You did.
I made it happen. It did happen.
We'll find, there's got to be a film where we'll find a film for you to do a commentary on one day. I think there's something out there that's just right. Terminator 2.
Just right. Okay. Question 10. What was Pixar's first feature film?
Toy Story.
Yes.
Yeah. 1995.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 11. In traditional animation, what is an in-betweener?
In-betweener is, so basically you have artists that will do what are called keyframes, and keyframes are like, there might be 1 or 2 per second. Essentially, they're the main points of motion. Like if the Lion King is jumping, it'll be in one position, then another position, and then another artist has to come in, at least in the old days, and they will have to hand draw all the individual frames to make that motion feel smooth and not choppy. Yeah.
That's amazing. What an amazing answer.
Yeah.
I love how you're like, and now we're in the animation hour, animation corner for this podcast.
It was a tedious job for a lot of people. And in fact, in the golden age of Disney animation, it was done a lot of, it was the only job that women could get back in that time period. They would do in-betweening, and also coloring. They would paint the cells. It was a different time, and it was a way for a lot of women to kind of break into the business and to be part of those teams of artists, and they did storyboards too. There was a lot, but it was not like the most coveted job, I'll just say, because you weren't kind of deciding how the character would move. You were just kind of taking, and you had to replicate the style and aesthetic look of the main key artist. So you didn't have a lot of creative control. You were just kind of doing busy work, if you will. You were just filling in the gaps in between those keyframes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And computers do it now. That's the big, you still have animators on computers doing keyframes, and then the computer can sort of extrapolate the movement and for us now. So that's one way that computers have made the life of animators a lot easier in more modern, animated films. Yeah. Sorry for the long.
No, I love it. It's a education. I love it. It's great. Question 12. Last question in this round.
Okay.
What does CGI stand for?
Traditionally, it's computer generated imagery, I believe.
Yes, that's right. You got 4 out of 4 right. It's
one of those things where like certain technologies like DVD can stand for several different things. Like it can, at one point it was like digital versatile disc, and it was changed to digital video disc. So like depending on what era you're in, there were different answers to certain abbreviations and what they represent. So that's why I was just making sure that it was the same answer you were looking for.
I know, because and this is the lightning round.
Okay.
So this is another one that has 9. So there's a lot. So
9 questions here.
9 questions here, and this is just I'm going to name a term, a filmmaking technique, and you have to tell me, define it for me. But I guess we will try not to do, because there's 9 of them, like a history of
choice.
No, sorry.
I'll just say, hey,
this has got to be the hardest quiz I've ever done. And I watched this quiz be an hour long, so maybe we should. Maybe we don't go into each term.
Yeah, I'll try not to expand on any of my answers. I'll just try to.
Well,
if I know them, I'll tell you. If I don't, we'll move right on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lightning round. Define the term Dutch angle.
A Dutch angle is essentially just like a off balance angle, an angle at where things in the frame are sort of shifted to one side, like this or like this.
Tilted. Yeah,
tilted. And that it comes from like, German expressionism, and even, comic book graphic artists use the same type of angles in their panels all the time. It makes you feel like the character is in an uneven or imbalanced state situation. It kind of adds an uneasiness to the scene. Yeah.
Amazing. No, I love it. It's great. Yeah. Dolly zoom.
A dolly zoom. I think you're referring to sort of the effect that you can get when you pull a dolly out on a track while zooming in at the same time, which is a famous shot in Jaws. Speaking of Jaws, is that what you're referring to? The kind of the effect that it creates, or it almost looks like the character is moving in the space that the subject is focused on.
Yeah, I have camera moves while zooming in the opposite direction.
Yeah. So it's essentially, there's that great shot on Roy Scheider in Jaws where like he realizes there's a shark out in the water, and the camera, they basically do that. It's an optical effect, essentially, meaning in camera, and it's achieved by essentially zooming in on the subject while pulling back the whole camera at the same time. Kind of creates this sort of distortion.
I'm sure Kyle will be happy that you used his Jaws, his favorite film ever, as an example. But I love that you gave us an example. That was great. Okay, so third term, matte painting.
A matte painting is essentially, it's really not used anymore. I think the last movie to really incorporate like big major Hollywood movie was Titanic. At the end, I think it's the Carpathia, the other ship. Is that how you say it? The other ship.
I think so.
That's a matte painting when they're like they're in the life rafts at the end, and they have like, you can see the ship coming in. It's essentially an illustrated backdrop that's inserted into a scene, at least either digitally in more modern films, or again in older films it would be inserted in more analog methods. But it's a lost art form. I love matte paintings. They're beautiful. Is
Awesome.
there anything else you're looking for there?
No,
specific,
like
or?
literally
Yeah.
all I have is painted
Yeah.
background, environment,
Yeah.
extension. And you
Yeah.
just gave
Yeah.
like a class on it, which
Yeah.
is
Basically,
great.
they would shoot like essentially you would shoot a foreground subject and then either insert the back. It's really it predates green screens, blue screens. Now you put the background in digitally. It's a computer generated background. Back in the day, they didn't have computer generated backgrounds, so they would put in a painted background. Especially, this was very common in like fantasy films, science fiction films. It was just a way to extend the to have a live action subject in the foreground, but to put them in another space. Yeah.
Next term, keyframe.
Well, a keyframe, like I was talking about before, in animation, or
Yes,
yeah.
animation.
So essentially, what I described earlier, it's keyframes are the main positions of an animated character that then the in-betweeners have to come in and fill in.
Awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Practical effects.
Practical effects are really just anything that's not done in post-production or in post, added in later. It's all the in-camera visual effects that you're capturing by the film camera, whether it be pyrotechnics, whether it be animatronics, whether it be makeup effects. There's just so many different types of practical effects, but basically it's anything that it's physically being filmed by the camera and not being added later on. Yeah.
Yeah, and we love practical effects.
Yeah.
Hanging with Becky's a big fan of practical effects. Okay.
Yeah,
this show. Okay, cross dissolve.
It's an editing technique where when you take two pieces of film or video and by adding a dissolve across the two, you fade out of one and into the other at the same time to kind of, it typically creates a sense or a passage of time is taking place.
Amazing.
Like you're moving forward. Yeah.
All right, you have 3 left and you're killing it. I probably shouldn't have said that because you are acing the lightning round.
Get really bad. Yeah.
No, they're not. This is easy. A Foley.
A Foley artist is somebody that creates the sound effects that you're hearing. That people will go around and literally record things with microphones, because there's lots of stock Foley sound effects that you can use on films, but like the big movies, they want to create original sound effects, so they'll actually go out and record and find sounds that are unique, and sometimes they'll like merge them together with other sounds. Like if they're trying to create a monster sound, they might take 3 different animals and kind of put their growls together to create something that sounds horrific or alien like. And so they're the artists that specialize in sound effects and creating those sound effects that to feel like you're hearing something you've never heard before.
Yeah.
Or it can be something as footsteps. It can be something as simple as a doorknob opening or footsteps on a wood floor. Then they just have to record somebody walking.
My favorite part is Modern Romance. Albert Brooks fans out there. There's this great scene where they put in a Hulk running, and he's like, and he goes, oh, like it was just so funny. It's the funniest thing. Anyway, that's like one of my favorite parts of Modern Romance. Okay, so match cut.
Match cut it's just a cut where you have one. It's hard to describe, but you basically, if you have 2 different shots and you're trying to sort of bridge them together, you're kind of following the movement from one to the next. You're trying to create a continuity between the two shots. Is that the definition you're referring to? Yeah. You want the viewer to not really notice that there is a cut, and that's the goal of most editing, is to make the edits sort of invisible. So if you can match movements perfectly between 2 different angles, the audience almost won't realize that a cut's taking place.
Okay, so this one, I'm probably going to be. I'm talking about the technique.
Okay.
Green screen, not the physical thing.
Sure. Okay, so green screen is a type of as I mentioned earlier with matte paintings, it's sort of the modern equivalent where you put a green screen behind your actors, and then you essentially key out the green screen in post-production and put in whatever background, whether it's a digitally created background, or it could be something something filmed that you're just putting in at a later date. This happens all the time. Like if movies are shooting on a budget and they can't film somebody just driving in a car down a desert road, they'll just shoot them in a car in a soundstage with a green screen, and they'll separately film the desert road and just add it in post-production to take out and it replaces that green screen. I can almost always tell when they do this, and I'm not a huge fan, especially in those types of situations, because I would much rather, if you could go shoot a car driving down a road, I'd rather you actually shoot it than have it be done. But sometimes it's a budgetary issue, or yeah. So.
All right. Then I have. I was going to ask you. Do you know what it was formerly known as? That's not. It's just a bonus question. Not really bonus.
What was formerly?
It's the I have. Screen? Yeah, it's like it's a term, but it's like really hard, and you're not going to get extra points for it. So I just have.
I mean. Before they were green, they were blue. I know that back like when they were.
It's just a name. I have chroma key compositing.
Oh, chroma key. Yeah, compositing. Yeah, that's what I said. I mentioned the key out. It comes from that term. When they basically essentially anywhere where there's green, the computer can key out that green and replace it with whatever image they want, in the background. So that's
okay.
Good.
You aced the lightning round. There's 4 questions left, bonus round.
All right.
So this is similar to your UFO one. You have to say if this is real or fake. So is this a real filmmaking term or a fake filmmaking term?
Okay. Fake filmmaking term or
real or fake is your answer. Okay.
Okay. Ready.
Lens breathing. Real or fake?
That seems fake to me. I don't know.
It's real.
It is? Oh, man. It's not a term anyone has ever uttered to me.
Sorry. I feel like I should have had a filmmaker help me with this instead of
it's good.
Research.
I'm learning. I want to learn. That's one thing about this industry is you have to always be learning, adapting.
Okay, so real or fake? Pixel drift compensation. Compensation.
Pixel drift compensation? I'll say it's real.
It's fake.
It sounded so specific that I was like, it has to be real. There's no way.
No, but I thought I gave it away because I was laughing so hard. I'm sorry.
I thought it was just because you were having trouble pronouncing it.
No, because I was like, this is so ridiculous.
It sounded like it had to be some like really complex visual effects term that I just have never heard.
Okay, question 15. Real or fake filmmaking term? Split diopter.
That is a real term. I love split diopter shots. Or if you ever watch a Brian De Palma film, you'll see them all over the place. They're just beautiful. I don't need to go into it, but it's essentially a way of giving 2 different objects, one in the foreground, one in the background, making them both in focus at the same time through the use of like a special type of split lens where there's 2 focal lengths. So it's really cool.
I love how you're like, I love this term or I love this thing. Okay.
I just think they're cool shots. Whenever I see one in a movie, I'm like, oh, split diopter shot. I love it. So
last one. Yeah. Last one, filmmaking term, real or fake? And then we are done with the Becky challenge, and then I will score and hopefully calculate. I've actually been tracking, so I think I actually didn't get a real right number this time. Okay. All right. Bonus round. Okay, real or fake? Narrative compression matrix. Answer real or fake?
Fake.
Yes. Okay, so you got 2
Did
out
you just make that? I was just curious. Did you just make that up? Did you just put some words together?
Yeah. Well, that's what the pixel drift compensation. I'm like, what?
What threw me off on that was pixel, because there could be, again, in the deep, nitty gritty technical side of say rendering animation, for example, or visual effects, there could be some weird terms like that I've never had to deal with. That sort of the professionals know, and they make, they use internally, but they don't. None of us,
Yeah.
Everyday people have ever heard. So those are
Okay.
good. You came up with some good fake film terms there.
Oh, great. Okay, 1 second. I see now this doesn't make sense because oh my God, I just want to make sure that I didn't mess up, because
that's fine.
You got 3 wrong in the behind the lens.
Right.
And then you got all the lightning rounds and you got 2. So it really should be 5. So oh my God, so I've already messed up. So hold on a second.
Sounds like I got 5 wrong total.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But then it's not equaling that. I have 18, which doesn't make sense. So hold on a second. Oh, it's because I didn't count the bonus round. Okay. Yes. Oh. Geez, this is like why kids go to school. And I did go to school, but I forgot how to calculate addition. Okay, so you got 20 out of 25, which is excellent. But let me see how you score. Okay. The Becky challenge ranking, 0 to 4 correct is film student.
Okay.
5 to 8 correct is production assistant. 9 to 12 correct is assistant director. 13 to 15 correct is cinematographer. And 16 and up correct is master filmmaker. So you achieved master filmmaker by over 4 for that. So you got 20 out of 25, which is excellent. But the problem is I'm like, I thought you said you like loved cameras. So I'm like, I'm going to do a whole section on cameras. And then you're like, actually, that's not my
camera shots and, the compositions and framing and lighting and all that kind of stuff, but not necessarily, I'm not someone that's constantly using cameras myself, right?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. Yeah.
So my friends had a friends and family screening at Panavision headquarters, which was amazing. And then I think I blew up your phone with sending you all the photos of the different, because they were showing me the different Panavision cameras, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and it's apparently very cool, but Panavision, I did a story about it. Panavision hearted it and did a whole heart emoji thing on it, which was exciting. Nice. But I'm like, this is, I think, cool for people that love cameras. Anyway, that's it. So you killed it on the, if I didn't give him the what his kryptonite on this one was, not Blade Runner this time. It was on cameras. That's where it went awry.
Physical cameras. Yeah.
Yes. On actual camera technology, not on shots. Cause obviously you could teach a class on all this. That was very impressive. So that's it. Do you have any final thoughts on Toy Story 5 or?
No, I just think I'll just say that I think I would definitely recommend people, especially if you have kids, to check this out. I think you'll really appreciate it and relate to it. It's always tricky to do my single friends, would I recommend this film? I don't know if they would care as much, but like you were saying, certain younger, people in the middle, but that are not kids anymore, but don't have kids of their own yet, that maybe they won't feel what we're feeling, but they might someday. Right. So I would definitely recommend this film, but again, I can't promise everyone listening that you'll feel the same way we felt about it, but that's always the case with movies.
Yeah. And maybe one day this will hit you to your core when you are at the right moment in your life. Yeah. So definitely. I loved it, and I gushed about it earlier. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And then where can folks find you, Adam? Yeah,
I'm on X, Twitter, at Adam Rackoff. That's my only active presence. I mentioned in our Disclosure Day video, I'm on Blue Sky, but I have never made a post. I just sort of reserved my account, my name, to make sure no one else took it. I keep telling myself I have to get in there and just start, just like whatever I'm posting on X, I'll just do the same thing there, and I just never do it. I need to do it.
You need to do it. And actually, we tagged you. We found you, and we tagged you in our post for the Disclosure Day episodes. So maybe go on and like those posts and retweet them.
I'll just redo that. I'll start things off by reposting those if I can remember my password.
Yeah, I forgot there's a term for for reposting on Blue Sky, which I really hate. It's a weird term and I don't like using it. So I say retweet still, but it's like I should say repost, but it's some other weird Blue Sky term. But anyway, they came up with their own, which is like, I don't, something about it like maybe it's cringy. But anyway, you could find Hanging with Becky. It's Hanging with Becky on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's Hang with Becky on Letterboxd and Twitter. And then you can also email us. I forgot to mention this in the last few episodes, but if you want to email us, reach out and write something longer to us, then you can on social media. We're at hangingwithbecky@gmail.com. And we'd love to get for people to find us on Apple and Spotify and all the platforms. So if you love the show, please give us a 5-star rating. It helps people find us. And then also we love actual reviews too, but maybe I'll read your reviews if they're really amazing, to incentivize you guys to write a review for us. And that's it. Next week we are covering Supergirl, and our producer Kyle Reardon is back for that. He loves DC Comics. He loves Superman and Supergirl. So I'm very excited to have him. He was on our bonus episode that we just dropped, so you got introduced to him for that. But this will be his first real episode. That was a test episode, so we considered it a bonus. But Kyle will be here as his own guest. And also, I just realized you could see this. This is my on. I'm like, why is she wearing a pink? If you're on YouTube, I'm wearing a Lotso pink furry arm wristband. Which, if you're on YouTube, you can see how cool it is. I got obsessed when Paul convinced me to get the Lotso bear. I'm like, I gotta get the wristband too. So I'm like, now I'm like Team Lotso. And like you said, maybe my Lotso bear will be a sweetheart because I love him. All right. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. And again, if you could give us a review or rate us or like us on YouTube, that would be amazing. And we will see you next week with Kyle Reardon for Supergirl. Bye.
Thank you.